Is this the same one I'm looking at? Andy? Randy, is this different than what was in our package? Or packet, I should say. Is this any different than this one? No. It's different. Thank you.
Okay, we will,
I mean, stop me.
is that me or?
Somebody.
It's still online. Hang on. Even though I've muted now. I got it. Yep.
Test. All right, we will call the Board of Supervisors work session for Monday, April 24th, 2023 to order. Supervisor Ayers.
Here.
Supervisor Lyons.
Here.
Supervisor Day.
Here.
And Supervisor McDaniel is present. Supervisor Lewis advised me he may be running a few minutes late, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Ms. Flint, I believe, are you going to present to us? Or?
Yes, sir. As soon as I'm promoted to a panelist, I'll share my screen. I've got a brief presentation for you, and then we're going to run through the draft strategic economic development plan, and then I'll take questions and comments afterward. In the wrong beach.
While you're getting set up, I will recognize Mr. Hawkins and Ms. Herring, members of the EDA are in attendance as well tonight. Appreciate y'all being here.
Okay, sorry, apologies. So I'm going to get started with the presentation. So just kicking off that we are looking at the Strategic Economic Development Plan, which is the draft plan, and just some background information. Once we establish this Economic Development Office, my first goal was to draft this plan and adopt this plan as a way to guide us forward with economic development over the next 2 to 5 years, mainly focusing on the next 2 years. So the purpose of the Strategic Economic Development Plan is to set the outline, the community goals and strategies for promoting economic growth and development. It typically includes an analysis of the community's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and identifies specific actions that can be taken to attract new businesses, support existing businesses, and create jobs. I'm sorry, it's not showing on the screen. Yeah, I know. Showing online.
Sure. You picked the wrong one.
There we go. Sorry. I was sharing my note screen to you. It's still not working. That's okay. We'll just go through page by page. Sorry. Not sure why the presentation's not working, but, so first thing I wanted to do was thank the members of our steering committee. We did have 22 people that we asked to join the steering committee, and they graciously gave their time and, volunteered on subcommittees. So we greatly appreciate that. So the plan starts out with an executive summary, which basically just breaks down the history of why you have a strategic economic development plan and what that strategic economic development plan is for. And then we move into the vision, the mission, and the lines of effort. So the vision of the plan, as determined by the executive committee of the steering committee that was set up to formulate the plan, was Rockbridge County is a beautiful, thriving, business-friendly Shenandoah Valley community in which to live, work, and play. It has successful businesses and farms, vibrant communities, public parks, outdoor recreational assets that attract, cultivate, and retain a diverse economy.
Right.
Yes.
To complicate this even more, Chris just told me we don't have sound, so can you minimize or quit sharing your screen there a second? So
Great. Nobody heard it.
we'll get there. Sun share.
It's not even opening Zoom.
First part of the economic development plan is to get IT. It's not you, Brandy. We have issues from time to time here.
So,
Apparently, I am definitely having one today. There we go.
all right, that's what I need to get to. Let's see. Sorry, that's not gonna work. Mr. Chairman, can you pause the meeting for a minute while I get out of here?
Yeah, we'll pause just for 1 second. I'm sorry, Brandy. Again, it's not you. It's
I'm just glad it wasn't just me.
All the settings.
I still don't know why it won't let me share my PowerPoint presentation though.
How about you?
Signature. Yeah, wait a minute, I'm almost done. Give me one of your pieces of paper. I have a, I can, your signature sheet.
What do you need?
If you give me an extra one, I'll get signatures for you.
Are you?
Sure.
Thank you.
How are you doing on yours?
Started yesterday.
I think still short 22, but I haven't worked on it for a while. Do you work on Saturdays?
Sometimes, yeah, this time of year, but not all Saturdays.
I was over,
Hmm?
I was over at Rivermont Saturday. It was
I
dedication.
thought it was gonna be canceled.
I live right down. I can't watch my phone waiting for it to be canceled until Sunday evening now, but it didn't. So
You win?
yeah, we met in the cafeteria.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Pretty good turnout. So
Well, good, I'm glad, but I'm glad you were there.
Jay showed up. So.
Good.
I saw the Facebook post. It looked like it was good.
I was
Trying to
I
hand
guess I
off
haven't
the
been-
meeting to
We
go.
didn't really have, we had a really internet problem,
What did you say?
in our neck of the woods this weekend.
You know,
So-
everyone on board of supervisors needs to do something.
Well, listen, I have heard that comment a little bit.
I hear that from the people, the students. Yeah, I know that.
Well, Spencer said, well, you can always say, well, if you don't mind raising your taxes about 20 cents, we might be able to do something about it, huh?
They're waiting on the federal dollars.
Yeah, Chris came down, so there wasn't.
But anyway, if you want, I know Dennis is getting some in his office. My brother has got a page for you. It's for you.
Yeah. I mean, I went up to sign Jared's. he was meeting with some people and then Dennis was going on me what I was doing. I got one baby and Dennis said, well, you paid. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's.
Randy, are you connected to the meeting right now?
Yeah.
Can I take your laptop out?
All right.
Sweet. That's gonna be quickest.
Spencer, will you go ahead and sign these because I'm gonna have to go for you. This one.
Because a lot of times I ask
That's
because
kind
of where they live. It's like, okay, are you in Mighty Street or Natural Bridge? And then sometimes they say, oh, I'm in Natural Bridge. I said, well, if I had my notes, I would have gotten much.
I haven't gone down 608. Have you gone down 608?
I'm just doing it. Well, I just carried in my purse at work.
If you got one, I mean, I don't mind taking it either.
Yeah.
If,
I might have one. I'll check. I might have one in my.
But it's,
I'm gonna be done by Wednesday.
I just walked around Glasgow, but yesterday. I got about 36. Walked around there. But I was hoping to get out tomorrow,
Which,
The main.
Wednesday evening,
well, nothing.
make a couple stops, but
But it was awful.
shame on work getting in the way.
Recycle centers are the best.
I turned it all on.
Just go and just stand there at the gate.
Yeah, I did everything.
I got mine in about 6 hours, 4 hours one day
It was
on a
all.
Saturday, 2 hours on a Sunday.
Wow.
Everybody takes the trash. And I was just at the one at their Car Street.
Yeah, I might do that.
But that is a good one though for you because
can't
everybody
keep up
that
Shelley
goes to
about
Balance cars. I'm not sure,
Just about, yeah.
but I'll try it. But I think I have about 20, 25. Painful.
That's the worst part of it. I hate work.
I think, you know, you should look at the first time. After the election, you should say,
But it is a good exercise. I can't believe that people actually do it.
but it used to be sitting with the first one, coming to their signature. No, it's first on the.
No, I just checked.
I'm telling you, it's the Republican Party. Somebody, they get put
Well,
up.
that's true.
Yeah, so,
That's true. But if they're running as an anybody running as an independent,
right.
it's the first person.
but if you got.
Unless there's a
We had
Democrat.
to flip the page over. to get-
Might not have to call you on.
Yeah. It's not flip over.
It was last year when I ran.
It's a flip over? Flip over? That would be
Decided to, yeah.
I think there might have been a new rule on the firewall.
holy moly.
It's not allowing the traffic on our
Gotcha.
network to.
Thing is, with the public,
Anybody else want to use?
Anybody else? Yeah.
some people
You just couldn't get, you can't get to it.
It wasn't you, Chris.
So what are you saying?
Apparently anybody outside of our network can hear. Okay, we ready?
I might have to, some people, to go again, check it out.
I guess we have to continue this.
Mr. Lewis is here, we'll be able to start.
So yes, people
We can-
outside.
Thank you. Okay, we're back in business.
Yep, we're back in business.
We'll resume our meeting.
Hopefully with my presentation working. It does. Okay, so I went through the reason for a strategic economic development plan. Background information, top priority of my office was to create the strategic economic development plan for the county. 22-person steering committee was set up. Some members of those steering committee joined subcommittees that included business retention and attraction, and expansion, as well as marketing, workforce, housing, and childcare, which were the items that were designated as of utmost importance for the county. So then we established the vision. The vision was Rockbridge County is a beautiful, thriving, business-friendly Shenandoah Valley community in which to live, work, and play. It has successful businesses and farms, vibrant communities, public parks, outdoor recreational access that attracts, cultivates, and retains a diverse economy. So the mission of this strategic economic development plan is to ensure that Rockbridge County's economic development mission is to guide economic growth and prosperity for the benefit of all county residents. The mission will be accomplished by the following: ensuring efficient business permitting practices, creating and sustaining a sound and supportive environment that businesses, residents can benefit from, promoting Rockbridge County as a prime location to operate a business and to live, actively attracting and retaining businesses, fostering an educated and job-ready local workforce, improving and developing infrastructure, and actively supporting childcare and housing initiatives. So that vision and mission guide the plan as we move forward. One part of the plan that was really important was the data section of the plan in order to establish some key trends. We do have an increasing population, but it's only increased 23% over the last 20 years, which is not a significant increase. Increasing average age of population is 36 to 49. Over 65 age category increased 139%. 20 to 34-year-old age category has decreased by 14%, meaning that a decreasing working age population and an increasing older age population means that we are going to see some impacts there. And then you'll see that on the next slide. There's a youth brain drain, and then we've got most immigrants in Rockbridge County are nearing retirement age as well. So the trends that are shown through that, the impacts are an increasing load on the healthcare system because of the older population ages, fewer workers available to provide the basic services because we've got a reduction in the younger age population, with loss of many potential new business owners and entrepreneurs because the younger folks are moving out of the area. And this slide, or the last statement there, the currently stable tax base but headed for a cliff. I've had several comments on that since this draft came out from a couple individuals. And so what I did is I spoke with, that was an item that Boyd Brown had put in this plan. And so I spoke with him earlier today and we discussed a rewording of that to basically state that the current tax base is stable. However, retention and attraction of a younger workforce is imperative in order to maintain that. So that's going to be reworded in there to kind of cover how that's worded, because a couple people had questions on what that meant. So we'll work with the executive committee to approve that change. This data set is actually provided by ESME, which is one of the data sets we use through the Shenandoah Valley Partnership. They're able to provide us with some data. So it's got the most recent data here. This is the key factors on education, employment, income, and then household income, which are key factors when you're looking at economic development. There is additional data in the plan, as you've seen on the pages. So I did not put all of the data in this presentation, but if you have any questions or comments on the data that's in the actual draft of the plan, just make some notes on the, I provided you with individual clean copies today. If you want to make notes on that today and provide me with any questions or comments regarding the data, that's fine. The SWOT analysis, the key strengths that Rockbridge County has is their location, our partnership with their regional and state economic development organizations, our tourist attractions and our outdoor recreation, our quality of life, and our entrepreneur support system. Our weaknesses is a lack of infrastructure, lack of county-owned and county-developed property, population growth in the older populations, and a loss in the lower populations, and then lack of affordable housing and childcare options. Those are obvious weaknesses that we're dealing with here in the county. Key opportunities, partnerships with higher education institutions. We do partner with them, but I think that we can and have a better partnership with them. Infrastructure improvements and build outs. We need to definitely look at which we started this with the water and sewer capacity study. That was one portion of this plan that I got to remove because we accomplished that goal. Graphic and branding campaign, we are kicking that off. We've picked a team to do a company with the RFP. So that'll be happening once the contracts are signed. Investment in site development and enhanced entrepreneurial support. So those are the opportunities that we have that we need to capitalize on. Threats, of course, historic lack of investment in economic development. That has changed since the establishment of the Economic Development Office and the budget that I have now. So we are moving in the right direction with that, but it was a threat because it was not being done. Traditionally, the public is adverse to development in Rockbridge County. So one of the items that you'll see in the Strategic Economic Development Plan is that the steering committee recommended that we look at development of smaller businesses with smaller footprints in order to limit the impacts in certain locations. However, if we do have a larger facility in an industrial zone that's already permitted, then that's not an issue. Low population growth is an issue. The county's been inactive in economic development. Sorry, I repeated myself on that. Low labor participation growth, and then limitations poised by conservation easements outside of the ag transition zone and in areas with public infrastructure. So that's right on the cusp of the ag transition zone where conservation easements can potentially limit development in the areas where we actually have public water and sewer. So the steering committee came up with the following lines of effort, and it's focused on 5 areas. The first one being business retention, expansion, and attraction. So that's the first item. Marketing is the second item. The third item is workforce development, infrastructure, and then child care services and housing development. So I'm going to run through each one of these lines with you. And if you've got any questions, feel free to stop me. So for business retention, expansion, and attraction, in the draft plan, you saw where I've discussed what exactly will go into the business retention and attraction line of effort, which is on page 16. What I'm going to discuss is the action items and the deliverables. So the first thing was to establish some Business Appreciation Month activities for May. The one thing that we are doing this year, again, is the Business Appreciation Month resolution, which is on your agenda for your regular meeting. Additionally, next year, I would like to plan out some activities that'll go along with our new graphic and branding campaign. So we'll have something to share with our local businesses to show their appreciation for them. We're updating the incentive policy currently. That'll move forward with the Economic Development Committee and continue to move forward with the board and EDA. Development and completion of a business retention and expansion plan. That is something that I have been working on actually for a while now. So just be finalizing that. And then I have deadlines for these activities as well. We're going to establish a task force to look into whether there's any restricted land development regulations. That'll be in conjunction with Chris and the Community Development Office. Development of an entrepreneur business ecosystem support plan. That is also something that I've already started working on. I'll just need to complete that. That'll include having the details on all of our support organizations like the Shenandoah Creative Community Fund, which helps us provide funding and training in the Gauntlet program. So I want to have a plan together that I can hand someone who's wanting to start a business so that they can move through the resources that are available. Perform an ag analysis to determine the best way to support agricultural businesses. This was something that was brought up as an opportunity for us to see how we can support agricultural businesses. We've bumped that to June of 2024 because I want to look a little bit further into exactly what that would entail and how we do that. Hire a business development assistant or marketing coordinator for the Office of Economic Development, someone to help me achieve all of these goals in the time frame that I've allocated for them. So the other items are ongoing items that I do every day anyway, which is support the chamber, contact businesses, support and apply for grant applications. This is Spencer actually for universal broadband. provide feedback to cellular and broadband companies about inadequate coverage, and identify and join trade associations related to our target industries. Increase communications with higher education and K-12. So one of the items that's on there is our target industry. So I will mention that our target industries include administrative support, agricultural, construction, education service, government, healthcare, hospitality, manufacturing, recreation, tourism, professional services, retail, trade. Those are all our number one employment industries at this time as well.
In the order of.
They're just in
No particular.
alphabetical order. Yeah. So that's the section regarding the business retention, expansion, and attraction. So we'll move on to the second line of effort, which is marketing. We have already moved forward on most of these items. The social media policy is in its final draft form. We'll be moving forward with that. The development of a communication policy for the Economic Development Office. That'll somewhat tie into the graphic and branding services because they are actually able to provide us with some guidelines on how to do that, but I do have a draft policy already set up that just needs to be edited. Hire business development assistant. This is not a second position. This is just reiterating the first one as someone to be in the office with me to help assist with this. And so most of the marketing hinges on the graphic and branding campaign. So the next item is the workforce development. The action items are a comprehensive list of workforce services. I am on the Shenandoah Valley Workforce Development Board. They do have a resource page that we will just add to what we have here locally, what isn't on their specific list, and if there's any other statewide programs we can add to that list. Same thing with talent attraction efforts. If somebody in the region or if someone locally has any talent attraction efforts that they're doing, we'll have a list of that and how we do that. Active participation on the workforce board and business solution teams, both of which I'm already doing and I'm actively participating in. And I actually have a CTE advisory board meeting tomorrow night. So I'll continue to work with our partners on developing a workforce plan and supporting any workforce efforts. But I think the biggest key on that one is having a resource guide to hand to our employers to give them the support services that are offered through the state and the region. Infrastructure development. This is a big one. We have come up with a grading scale that we're going to use to grade the infrastructure at the key intersections in order to determine where we should invest in additional infrastructure first. And that also ties into the water and sewer capacity study. It'll tie into any continuing broadband application and extension of broadband efforts. So we'll continue to develop that over the next couple months. That deadline is probably going to shift slightly because I'd like to get the additional item for the water and sewer capacity study. So I will make an edit on that and probably shift that to August just to give us a little bit more time. Completion of an inventory of developable sites, both public and private. That is an ongoing thing that I keep with Virginia Scan, which is the state system, and I'll continue to update that. However, the only properties listed on that system are properties that people send to me to list. So if there are additional commercial properties that they haven't sent to me, then I do not have them. So this is an opportunity for me to do a deep dive into available commercial real estate. So I'll continue to do that. Formulate a recommendation list with the infrastructure committee for infrastructure improvement projects over the next 2 to 10 years. That ties back into that grading of the areas of developable properties. Completion of another item that was added to our water and sewer capacity study. So all of that is probably going to shift to that that August timeframe. And then housing and childcare. With housing and childcare, we're going to focus on having a list of existing childcare and housing resources that we can supply, developing guidelines for how we support the entities that are developing housing or developing childcare, and then develop a list of guidelines for needs assessment, and a childcare capacity study to see, and housing to see exactly where we stand. The housing study is already currently in process. It'll be done in 2024. So we'll have that complete. They will give us recommendations on what we need to do in order to increase our housing inventory. And then the childcare needs assessment, there was a group of W&L students who did do a preliminary assessment, basically an inventory of what we do have as far as childcare services go. So, and I just got that 3 weeks ago. So I'll start going through that in depth more, and then looking at what we can do to enhance those efforts and support those enhancements. So moving forward, today, of course, is for board input. I've given you, as I said earlier, I gave you a fresh, clean copy of the document based on my presentation and discussions today. If you can make notes on that and provide those to me, that would be great. I'm going to get information from other boards, committees, and commissions as they look at this plan and just input their information. And then I've got a couple civic and partner organizations I'll be presenting to. One of them is going to be the Chamber Economic Development Committee meeting. I will take all that input, put it together, and then review it with the steering committee, executive committee, in order to determine which edits need to be done, if there's any adjustments that need to be made. And then I hope to present the final document to you for your adoption at either your June 12th or June 26th meeting, depending on the level of responses we get from these other items. So that was quick and fast.
First off, apologize for our IT problems, because I know that kind of shook
Threw
you
me
up
off
a
a
little bit.
little.
Yeah, but you did a wonderful job
Thank you.
presenting the information. As I was reading through the document, the only question I had, and you touched on a little bit, is some of the dates. You know, is it any of the dates that you feel like may need to be pushed back a month or two? Because I know some of this we were hoping to have done by like April,
Right.
you know, and it's just like with the branding exercise, you know, we were hoping to have that done, you know, in April, and we're working on the contract now. And with that, initially we had put a target date of October. Well, you know, we've kind of
Yeah.
stretched that out now to January, just to give a little bit more time, because it's been a little bit more time on the front end for us.
And I
So,
did update that date. It's now January 2024 for completing the process, which should put us 6 months out from signing that contract, and gives them 6 months to do the whole process. But I do need to double check on some of the dates, as I said, with the one that I know that needs to change the most, or initially, is going to be that workforce services one, and the social media policy is probably going to change, as well as the communication policy. But we'll double check the dates.
On number 6 here, perform an agriculture analysis to
Yeah.
determine the best ways to support agricultural business. Is that a specific group of people that are helping you with that? I mean, or have we identified people,
We have not.
farmers in
We
our
are just in the
community?
stage of, we thought that might be a good thing to do, to see what services we can provide our ag businesses and entrepreneurs. So really that is literally the beginning of that. We just want to formulate that team and go through that. And it's the reason it's a June 2024
That's fine,
deadline.
but
Is
so
all of
is.
that needs to be done.
So that will be done.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
fine.
Any other questions?
I did have one question on the information on the employment. We're talking about localities and average weekly wage. Do we track whether or not this benefits is included? Are we comparing apples to apples, I guess is what I'm saying?
So the average weekly wage, and this is my understanding of how it's reported to VEC, it is just their wages. I do not think it includes insurance or benefits or anything like that. It's just their pre-tax, I think it is, wage.
Mhm. It's just, for Rockbridge County is, if you have an average weekly wage of 782, but you have insurance and retirement, that could,
Changes it.
it does, it changes it. And
But
it's,
this is just based on, I'm 100% sure that this is based on, well, maybe 99% sure that this is solely based on wages. It
Mhm.
does not include any of the fringe benefits at all. So it does seem slightly skewed because that's not included. But if you look at the household incomes, the medium incomes, a household, that's also only going to factor in the wages. It's not going to factor in any of the benefits. And that's because of how it's reported to VEC. They don't have to report
Mhm,
the fringe benefits as far as I know. And I'll double check on that.
mhm. It'd be nice to know those and be able to know how many of our full-time employees in this county have those benefits and track that.
Any other questions or input from board members?
I like the idea of perhaps being able to mark my copy up and come to you
Yes,
and just
that would
chat
be
about
perfect.
that. Would that be all right with
Yes,
you?
mark it, call me, stop by the office, either one, email, any way you want to communicate any potential changes or comments. That's great.
Thank you, Brandy. Good work.
Thank you all.
If it's easier for some, we could, this is in Word, isn't it, Brandy?
Yes.
We could probably send you a Word version if you wanted to track changes in Word. You could do that as well if that's easier.
Yes. I will send everyone a Word version just in case. Thank you all.
Thank you, Brandon. Good job. Is that it for work session?
Just want to call recess for till 5:30.
Yeah, we'll recess till 5:30. Started the regular business meeting.
There you go.
Okay, we will call to order the April 24th, 2023 Board of Supervisors meeting. Supervisor Lewis.
Present.
Supervisor Day.
Here.
Supervisor Ayers.
Here.
Supervisor Lyons.
Here.
And Supervisor McDaniel's present as well. We will now have a prayer for the board followed by a pledge of allegiance. Those attending are not required to participate. If you'd like to join us, please stand.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for all your blessings and thank you for this beautiful day. We ask that you bestow upon the supervisors the wisdom and courage to make the right decisions. And we ask for your continued blessings for all the citizens of Rockbridge County. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will hold citizen comments near the beginning of the meeting, and we will do our best to take citizen comments remotely. There are two options for citizens to offer comment. To join by telephone, you may dial into one of the numbers listed on the county website. The webinar ID and password are there for your convenience. Citizens wishing to simply view the meeting live or after the fact can do so on the Rockbridge County Board of Supervisors YouTube channel, also available on the county website. If you wish to make a citizen comment as a Zoom meeting participant, you will use the raise your hand feature. You can press the raise your hand button at the bottom of your Zoom window or press *9 if you're calling in by telephone. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No, sir.
Recognitions and presentations. We have a resolution honoring Mr. Jones for his work on the Economic Development Authority. Ms. Ayers, would you like to read that?
Sure. Whereas J. Lynyon Lynn Jones Jr. was appointed to the Rockbridge County Economic Development Authority in August 2002 and has served diligently as a dedicated member of the Economic Development Authority for over 21 years. And whereas while serving on the Economic Development Authority, Mr. Jones held the position of the secretary from 2002 to 2011 and served as the chairman of the EDA from 2011 until April 17, 2023. And whereas Mr. Jones, over his 21 years on the EDA, successfully aided the county in implementing economic development programs, projects, and initiatives that facilitated the establishment and expansion of numerous businesses throughout the county, including Devil's Backbone Brewing Company's outposts and subsequent expansions, the revitalization of the Virginia Horse Center, and implementation of additional funding to facilitate that revitalization. The completion of the Natural Bridge Industrial Park, the formation of the Natural Bridge State Park, implementation of the Rockbridge Area Network Authority federal broadband grant, and expansion of public utilities for residential and business growth. Now therefore, be it resolved that members of the Rockbridge County Board of Supervisors wish to express their deepest appreciation for Lynn Jones for his willingness to serve the citizens of Rockbridge County as a dedicated and effective member of the Rockbridge County Economic Development Authority from August 2002 to April 2023. Adopted this 24th day of April 2023.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
Yes.
And a second? All right. Any comments, questions, anything? All right, Ms. Ayers,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mr. Day.
Yes.
Mr. Lyons.
Yes.
And chair votes yes as well. Next up, we have a resolution for Business Appreciation Month. Mr. Lewis, would you like to read that?
Sure, be proud to. Whereas the governor of Virginia has declared the month of May as Business Appreciation Month in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and whereas Rockbridge County businesses, some for generations, have shaped and embodied the entrepreneurial spirit that has ensured economic growth and diversity in the county, and where Rockbridge County's economic well-being and growth stem from the hard work and dedication of its business owners, and whereas Rockbridge County businesses provide jobs, products, and services to our residents in our surrounding communities, and consumers far and wide. And whereas Rockbridge County's top employment industries for 2023 include retail trade, manufacturing, agriculture, accommodations, food service, and healthcare. And whereas agriculture-related businesses, including production, transportation, and distribution, are critical to our local economy and provide products to sustain our local communities and those far beyond our borders. And whereas Rockbridge County is currently home to 1,700 business license holders and 29 manufacturing operations. And whereas many Rockbridge County's business license holders are small business operated by dedicated entrepreneurs. And whereas Rockbridge County extends its gratitude and appreciation for all of our local businesses' dedication and perseverance. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Supervisors of Rockbridge County, will continue to hereby recognize May as Business Appreciation Month. And we call this observance to the attention of all citizens and ask that you thank your local business owners and patronize their business establishments. Adopted this 24th day of April 2023.
Is there a motion to adopt a resolution?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
All right, any questions, comments? All right, Mr. Lewis,
Aye.
Ms. Ayers,
Yes.
Mr. Lyons,
Yes.
Mr. Day, and Chair votes yes as well. Just real quick, I would like to thank Mr. Jones for his 21 years of service on the EDA and all of our businesses and small business owners in our community for all that you do for our community. Next up, we have citizen comments. At this time, we will take citizen comments. Is there anyone signed up to speak?
Yes, sir. There's two that are signed up. First is Mr. Steve Hart.
Please come to the podium, state your name, magisterial district, and limit your comments to 3 minutes, please.
Hi, friends. Steve Hart, Cars Creek. 6 years, 4 meetings. We're here to, I know it's not a public hearing, but it's on the agenda for Barks conditional use permit again. And I think we know the answer to my question from the last 4 times is what's last. Well, what's last is Barks going to continue to do this until they cover the entire county. I think that is what they ought to do. And I'm really glad that the funding is available to do that because I'm one of those that lives on the wrong side of the digital divide currently. So rather than doing this for 2 years, I would actually encourage you to tie it to a condition. And that condition is the completion of the build out in the county. So that we don't have to come back in 2 years if it's going to take 2 years, 6 months. You can ask for progress reports as part of that. I also think now is the time to start thinking about what comes after that, because in infrastructure, there's always an after. Because as soon as you do the build out, you've got to maintain it, you've got to operate it. Sometimes you have to decommission it, sometimes you have to upgrade it. And they're going to need a place to do that from. And if that place happens to be the former Highland Bell Elementary School, which is going to become the future Cars Creek Industrial District, I really want that process to happen deliberately, not by accident. But because we thought about it for a couple of years and say, yep, this is the right answer, not because, well, we've been doing it for 10 years, so we may as well keep doing it. Again, I really think rather than saying 2 years, let's just keep doing this till it's done. Because Bark's done a really nice job with how they've worked on that facility in the past couple of years. And I think they would agree that it probably runs a lot better than it did 3 years ago. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Anyone else signed up?
No, sir.
Is there anyone online wishing to address the board?
No one with a hand raised.
Okay, anyone present didn't have the opportunity to sign up wishing to address the board? Okay. All right, moving along. Next up, we have the minutes of April 10th. Has everyone had the opportunity to review those? Any questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
All right. Ms. Ayers,
Yes.
Mr. Day,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Aye.
Mr. Lyons,
Yes.
and Chair votes yes as well. Next up, we have the county appropriation resolution. Mr. Harrison.
Yes, the bi-monthly total for county bills is $216,248.05. There is nothing out of the ordinary.
Any questions for Mr. Harrison? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the resolution? So moved. And a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Lyons,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Aye.
Mr. Day,
Yes.
Ms. Ayers,
Yes.
and Chair votes yes as well. Next up, we have consideration of the BARC Electric Co-op extension of special exception permit for a laydown yard. Mr. Sladen?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, Mr. Lewis, go right ahead.
I need to abstain from all matters, discussions, or voting related to the ARC Electric Cooperative application for extension of special exception permit for laydown yard, and my disclosure statement required under Virginia Code 2.23115 Heft is on file with the clerk to the board of supervisors.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Bill Buchanan, BARC Electrical Cooperative CEO, has made an application for extension of the temporary special exception permit in order to continue to utilize a portion of the property as a laydown yard for equipment and material storage for the BARC Connects Broadband Fiber Project. The property is located, property is identified as 1972 Big Spring Road, further identified as tax map number 47-A-50 and consists of 15.24 acres per tax record. The property is located in an agricultural and general use zoning district, A2 per section 603.02-02-9 of the County of Rockbridge Land Development Regulations. Public utilities are a use by special exception. A portion of the property is located in Zone A area within this 100-year floodplain. Per section 802.02-11 of the land development regulations, quote, renewal of a special exception permit does not require a public hearing unless the original conditions in the permit are changed. However, notice of the renewal shall be shown on the agenda of the Board of Supervisors meeting. So in addition to of course, having it on the agenda, we also, Office of Community Development staff prepared a joining notice. That certainly wasn't a notice of public hearing, but whether notice of the extension renewal. The current permit is set to expire on May 10th, 2023. BARC has made an application to extend the permit for additional 2 years. Current condition associated with the special exception permit are as follows. Number one, the development of the property, again, 47A-50, for which the application is being made, shall be in substantial accordance with the development plan prepared by BARC titled Highland Bell BARC Community Solar Project and Learning Center Site Plan, dated February 18th, 2015, with a revision date of March 31st, 2021. That's, of course, in your package. And then number two, approval contingent upon final VDOT erosion sediment control and stormwater management approvals. BARC is in full compliance of the current conditions, and the conditions are not proposed to be changed. Per section 802 of the regulations, BARC has requested the extension of the special exception permit. With that, I'd like to turn the floor over to Mr. Bill Buchanan with BARC to go over any additional details of the project or answer any questions the board may have.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Are there, I guess my first question would be, are there any questions anybody has pertaining to this?
Any questions from the board? No, sir.
If not, we appreciate the opportunity to get the extension and to we'll definitely continue to try to advance the broadband in Rockbridge County. We are awaiting which you guys are aware of, the VATI grant, which we're still trying to find out when that's going to be either approved or denied, but we are hoping, we're still very, very hopeful that will happen and we can continue on with the build out.
Thank you, Mr. Buchanan. We look forward to working with you on the build out of the broadband. Appreciate all that BARC has done for our community and continues to do with that.
Thank you.
Mr. Slayton, is there anything else you have?
No, sir.
Okay. So hearing the request, is there a motion to approve the extension?
So move.
And a second? All right. Any comments, questions?
If you haven't been by there, they've done some fantastic stuff. It's vastly improved over it was 2 years ago, physical appearance, and I've had good conversations. I think 2-year extension rather than when they finish. Hopefully they'll finish within 2, but I don't see it problem moving forth. It's not like we have to have a public hearing or anything to extend it beyond that. So I think they're being very good neighbors.
All right, the motion is out there. Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Ms. Ayers?
Yes.
And chair votes yes as well. Next up, we have consideration of outdoor event application for Boxwood Music in the Garden. Mr. Sladen.
Yes, Miss Emily Cole, Executive Director of Boxerwood, has submitted an application for outdoor events to hold music events per Chapter 4, Amusement Entertainment, Section 2, that pertains to outdoor entertainment events of the Rockbridge County Code. Property is located at 963 Ross Road, Lexington, Virginia. And with no further ado, I'd like to turn the floor over via Zoom to Miss Emily Cole, again, the Executive Director of Boxerwood.
Ms. Cole, are you there?
Everybody.
You might need to speak a little louder. We can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
A little louder, please.
Early.
Oh, goodness. One moment.
Try it again.
Hello?
That's
Still
better.
Wonderful. I was able to adjust my volume up a little on my microphone. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for reviewing our application. Boxerwood is headed into, I believe, our 13th season of Music in the Garden. We have over the years learned what it takes to make this a successful and safe event for all of our friends and neighbors who make it out. So it was wonderful to get the official sign off and approval from both the chief of the fire department and the sheriff. And other than our regular slate of concerts that we have every May through September, I'll also point out that our application has an event in October called Spectacle. None of this is really out of the ordinary from how Boxerwood typically conducts outdoor activities, but I look forward to hearing any questions or feedback you have from reading the application.
Is there any questions, comments, concerns? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Cole.
Thank you.
Ms. Slade, anything else you have to add to it?
No, I do not.
Okay. Having heard the request, is there a motion to approve
So moved.
and a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, Ms. Ayers,
Yes.
Mr. Lyons.
Yes.
Mr. Day.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Aye.
And Chair votes yes as well. Next up, if I can get back to my screen here. I believe we have consideration of farmer's market application from Mr. Hart in the Carrs Creek District. Mr. Sladen.
That's correct. This is for a consideration of the Carrs Creek Community Market, Farmers Market application. Mr. Steve Hart attended this evening, has submitted an application for a farmer's market per Chapter 4 Amusement and Entertainment, Section 5, that pertains to farmers markets of the Rockbridge County Code. This will be, I believe it's the 4th year of the Carrs Creek Community Market. Property is located, or identified, I should say, as 2766 West Midland Trail, and it's further identified as tax map number 47-A-54 and consists of 84.775 acres per tax records. Per section 4.51E2 of the county code, Mr. Hart has requested that this application be approved for a 5-year period. With no further ado, I'd like to turn the floor over to Mr. Hart to review any conditions that he may have to add or answer questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Mr. Hart.
Same market, same place, same time. Y'all come.
Is there any questions or comments or discussion for Mr. Hart? Thank you, Mr. Hart. Anything else you have to add, Mr. Sladen? Okay, having heard the request, is there a motion to approve the request? So move. And a second?
Second.
All right, any questions, comments, discussion? All right, Mr. Lyons.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mr. Day.
Yes.
Ms. Ayers.
Yes.
And Chair votes yes as well. Thank you. Next up, we have consideration of the Hope House project. Mr. Suter.
Yes, Rockbridge Community Foundation has submitted a request for the county to support a grant application to fund a new initiative called Hope House. It's a sober living second chance recovery home to be sited in Buena Vista with oversight of the Rockbridge, or the Community Foundation for Rockbridge, Bath and Allegheny. The center would be operated by Rockbridge Recovery, a bit newer 501c3 formed to assist recovering opioid and other addicts, and helping them stay drug-free and restart new lives. The home, which was donated to Rockbridge Recovery, is located for these purposes in Buena Vista. There's a lot of information that's attached in your document, in your package, and I've had a lot of conversations over the past several months about this with city managers and folks from the application. Let's see, the overview in the letter is the main one that I need you all to look at, and request the county and the cities of Lexington and Buena Vista to sign on to a grant application for the funding that's going to provide this provide this assistance. Let's see, the other documents contain supplemental and supporting documentation, which would need to be completed, should the board be supported. The grant fund source is by the Commonwealth of Virginia from the opioid settlements to combat the opioid epidemic. The requested amount annually is $210,231 for over 5 years. So that much money every year for 5 years. There would be the potential to reapply for additional years in the future. The grant would fund some initial cost as well as the ongoing operational costs. And to date, they have locally raised over $325,000 in cash and in-kind match. And there's a list of businesses in your and folks that have agreed to either in-kind or match funds. These grants are competitive and the application is due on May the 5th. The grant application requires that 3 or more localities agree to apply for the funds, and one of those localities must serve as the fiscal agent. And Buena Vista is willing to serve in that stead, pending a final approval by council at their next meeting. And it makes sense because it is in Buena Vista. As noted in the letter, there are 2 levels of request to the localities. One is by signing on in support of the grant application. And again, I would say subject to approval by Lexington and Buena Vista. And the second level would be signing on in support of the grant application and also granting a portion of the locally directed opioid funding, which comes directly to the county. To date, the county's received a little over $70,000 in direct opioid settlement funds. And I did include a link to a chart showing the funds that we're expected to receive over the next to 2039. It ends up in total, it's a fair amount of money, but it's not as much as folks might think every year, annually. So again, at this juncture, you've got 3 options. You can authorize us to join in the application with Buena Vista's fiscal agents, or you could do that and provide some additional local funding. And of course, the other option is not to do any of the above. And Community Foundation Executive Director Lori Turner and Board Member Greg Madsen are here tonight to answer any questions that you might have that I haven't covered. It wasn't covered in the literature.
Thank you. Mr. Turner, Mr. Madsen, anything you want to add to that? Thank you.
Obviously, we appreciate your consideration.
Okay. Just to let the board know, I have spoke with both mayors of City of Lexington and City of Buena Vista, and they're both in support of 1, Buena Vista being the fiscal agent, 2, at this point, all 3 localities signing on to the application for the grant. I'm not sure. We have all talked about combining our opioid funds at some point to do something. I'm not sure we're at the point to do that yet. This is just to get the application started and see how that goes. It is a level of conversation I've had with the 2 mayors.
I'm glad Ms. Turner and Mr. Matson are here. That gives me some help. This is to me a big decision to make in 2 days. I didn't read board docs Thursday night at 5 p.m. I must confess. So I didn't find this till sometime later, which isn't much time to really go through it. So I'm not feeling overly educated on it, but I understand as grants go that things turn around pretty quickly. But the funding for it, the 200s, 300s, thousands that were mentioned, we we anticipate that being in subsequent years also grant funded or from the community foundation. Is that fair?
The grant that we're applying for has actually got a 4-year renewal on it. So if we get it for year 1, it goes up to 5 years. And the settlement is actually up to 18 years. So at the end of 5 years, we could actually reapply again, up to 18 years to be able to sustain it. But we are looking obviously at, other grant opportunities as well, from the GCD, the CHIP, other areas, but we don't want to apply for those until we know if we get this funding, we're good for now. And then we would be looking at that for future stuff. But obviously, this would be the first 5 years and potentially 18 years of sustainability through the settlement funds.
Yeah, the understanding that I have, Mr. Lewis, with the other mayors is that it doesn't obligate us or the cities to any source of funding. This is simply in support of the project so that they can apply for the grant through state monies to fund it.
Yeah, and I just don't want to set somebody up to fail if we're not prepared, to be fully vested. So I just wanted to see, sort of flesh that out. And then the foundation is requesting this, and that includes other jurisdictions than Buena Vista, Lexington, and Rockbridge County.
Okay.
Would participants or residents of Hope House be from other localities? Or do we anticipate that just this piece is just for us?
This particular grant is what they call a cooperative partnership grant. So you guys have received the money initially from the settlement, and then there's the gold standard that you can get on top of that, which is the 25% incentive. This particular grant requires 3 localities to come together and one of them to serve as the fiscal sponsor. So Buena Vista obviously is going to do that since it's in their locality, and then the other 2 are just part of that partnership.
And
That's it.
another question he asked, the residents would come only from Buena Vista, Lexington, and
Correct,
Rockbridge.
correct.
We're
We're
only
not
gonna
bringing
serve
people in.
residents of these 3 municipalities.
That's,
They're
yeah,
not going to come from other places.
yes, sir. That was
Yeah,
sort of
we're
how I
not
was.
bringing people in from other areas.
Not that I'm not trying to help everyone.
Right.
We can only do what we can do.
And we actually, the situation that we have right now is Rockbridge Recovery is already helping these people get into a rehabilitation program, but when they leave that 28-day program, they have nowhere to go. So they're either reintroduced to the same triggers or they're taken to the Appalachian Homeless Program to live in tents. And so this offers a completely new perspective to be around like peers, people who understand, supporting each other for 6 months, jobs, helping them get their driver's license, helping them get a GED if they need it, helping them budget financing classes to the chamber. There are 20 different partners who are coming together in this to offer all kinds of resources so that in 6 months they have money and they're able to hopefully, leave and maintain a clean lifestyle.
And it was my understanding also that it's going to start out as 2 residents and has potential to grow to 12.
6 and then possibly 12.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the city of Buena Vista Police Department and all is, everything's been okay there. They're good to go with it. And I believe our county sheriff has also,
Yeah, I've spoken to Sheriff. You've spoken to almost Kim Shaw.
Mhm.
We've, included everybody. In this.
Yeah, we actually have support letters from all the chiefs of police and the hospital, some of the council members, Grace Episcopal Church, Chuck, we've spoken to a lot of people, trying to get a lot of resources, 1, to get their support, and 2, to get their feedback, because we're working on this for several months, and a lot of those conversations helped us along the way as we start developing policies. The Community Foundation today just elected Ingrid Barber to our board, who actually runs New Beginnings in Clifton Forge, which is a similar program, and we'll be assigning her to the advisory board of this project because she'll be a great asset, considering that she's already running a similar operation in Allegheny.
How long does the program last?
6 months.
6 months. Yeah, 6 months after the 28-day rehabilitation. They go to 28 days of rehab first.
And how many staff members we have?
How many staff members?
Staff members, well, it will be, we want to keep the staffing cost low, so we want to do under 30 hours. We want part-time, so we don't have to offer fringe benefits. So we're looking at 6 potential house monitors around the clock at 30 hours or less each, plus a program manager who will work there full time.
And how does a person get referred?
They are referred by, there's a couple of different things that can happen. One, they can come out of incarceration and have an acceptance letter into a 28-day program, or they could be leaving mental health services at the hospital with an acceptance letter to a 28-day program, or they could just be going on their own. But once they get out of that program, then they're eligible to come to the house once they've completed that. You have to complete that in order to be eligible. You have to be committed to a clean lifestyle. We're not detoxing any of that. You have to be clean first.
Any other questions?
No, I just want to, we all know we have a serious drug issue in our community, and I just want to thank you for being part of a solution for that. Really, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so as Mr. Suter pointed out, we have 3 options. Again, as I said, as I've spoken with the city mayors of BMS and Lexington, I would, at this point, ask your consideration of option 1, which would be just to authorize the application for a grant, unless you have some other ideas.
That's what I'm comfortable with at this time.
Okay, is that a motion?
I'll make the motion.
All right, is there a second?
A second.
All right. Any other discussion? All right, Mr. Lewis,
Aye.
Mr. Lyons.
Yes.
Ms. Ayers,
Yes.
Mr. Day,
Yes.
and Chair votes yes as well. Thank you and good luck to
Thank
your
you.
project. All right, next up, we're going to go to the public hearing on the fiscal year 24 budget and capital improvements plan. Mr. Harrison?
Yes. Before you is this for the FY 2024 budget year beginning July 1 and ending on June 30th of 2024. This public hearing was duly advertised and was also made very prominently on the county's website. I'd like to point out that the real estate taxes are equalized at 61 cents as a result of the reassessment, and personal property taxes are at 4.25 with a 35-cent personal property tax relief. That is as close as we could get mathematically to generating the same amount of revenue as the current fiscal year. Machinery and tools remains unchanged at 255, and other personal property outside of vehicles remains unchanged at 450. The general fund budget is balanced at $56,753,561. The capital construction fund is budgeted at $277,928. The capital purchases fund is budgeted at $690,006. And the ARPA fund is budgeted at $4,208,895, with by far most of that committed as a grant match for broadband. The Rockbridge County Public Schools Fund 50, the main account is budgeted at $36,758,134. The cafeteria budget at $1,187,154. And the school debt fund is budgeted at $3,846,355. We have also, as of this date and time, have not received any written comments on the budget. And our recommendation is to conduct a public hearing, discuss as desired, and provide us staff with any directions. And again, I'd like to thank the Finance Committee, Mr. Lyons, Mr. Lewis, and County Administrator, Mr. Spencer, for all their hard work on getting this budget together.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Is there any questions, comments, concerns from Mr. Harrison before we have a public hearing? All right. We will now open up the public hearings. Anyone signed up wishing to address the board?
Yes, sir. We have a Mr. Steve Reese.
Reese, please come forward, state your name, Astro District, and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes.
I won't take 3 minutes. Steve Reese, Walker's Creek District. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Rockbridge Volunteer Fire and EMS Association. We would like to express our concern, displeasure about using revenue recovery funds to fund a training position at the Fire and Rescue Department, and ask that an alternate source of funding be found. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. Is there anyone else signed up wishing to address the board? Is there anyone present didn't have the opportunity to sign up, wish to address the board? Is there anyone online wishing to address the board?
No hands raised.
Okay, at this time, we will close the public hearing. Is there any other discussion, comments, concerns? Like Mr. Harrison, I'd like to thank, obviously, Mr. Harrison, Mr. Suter, Finance Committee, and the board as a whole, for your work on the budget this year. It's never easy. Takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and appreciate all of your inputs and getting our budget balanced, even though the state has yet to provide us with their budget. I understand they're working on that, hopefully to come by June 30th. So do we need to make a motion for next Monday?
It's already scheduled.
Already scheduled? So you don't need anything else from us on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So we will now move back to item 11, which is the consideration of the Murat Collection Center option to purchase agreement. This is Ms. Huffman, I believe.
Yes, sir. Chairman, members of the board, this is a request for authorization to exercise the option to purchase and acquisition of the parcel of land from the Deacon family for the Murat Collection Center in the Buffalo Magisterial District. We had an option to purchase dated December 1st, 2022 from Stuart, Jerry, and Philip Deacon, in which they granted the county an option on the property located on the west side of Murat Road, a short distance north of the intersection with Kyerstown Road, for the collection center site. The parcel contains 1.680 acres and would include an access easement and a drainage easement. Staff proceeded with due diligence on the acquisition. We recently received the final piece, which was the final subdivision plat, and the exercise of the option is due by the end of April 30. The title search and survey revealed several issues, so the exercise of the option would need to be subject to resolution of the following: release of a right of first refusal from Nathan Deacon, a small structure on the adjoiner, Russell and Cynthia Krantz, encroaches into the parcel that was addressed on the plat by adjustment of the boundary line. And then portions of the access easement are across properties, the property owned by the Krantzes, which will require their signing off on the ingress egress easement. If acceptable to the board, you have a proposed resolution for the requested action, subject to clearing title with respect to the issues noted above. If the board's in favor, I ask for adoption of the resolution.
Is there any questions for Ms. Huffman? Any comments, discussion?
We've been working on it a long time. I think we need to move forward. I think we've been talking about it for years. So I make a motion, we approve the resolution.
With the
Yeah.
everything that she added?
Yes.
Okay. And is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
Ms. Ayers?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
And Chair votes yes as well. Thank you, Ms. Huffman.
Thank you.
Next up, we have some appointments. Looks like the Community Services Board, where Ms. Burgess resigned. Term expires December 31st, 2024. Looks like we've received an application from Donna Prince of the Cars Creek District. Anything you have to add to that, Mr. Lyons, or?
No, I'm happy that we have an application, and I'd move that we approve.
All right, so a motion to approve, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion, questions, consideration? All right, Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
Ms. Ayers?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
And Chair votes yes as well. Next up, we have the TCO Board. Mr. Barger's term expires April 8th, 2023. I'm not sure that we have received any applications. I'd ask Mr. Sladen to maybe help us with that. Any progress or anything you have to report this time on that?
No, as reported in an email, Mr. Parker's asked the board to find a replacement due to travel plans and other civic obligations. I have shared some ideas with Supervisor Lewis, and I'll do the same with Chairman. If anybody else has any suggestions, obviously, I've informed the TCO board of Mr. Barger's resignation. I've also asked them if they have any ideas of business owners or representatives along the corridor to share with us.
Okay. Please keep us all updated then. Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Slade, when's the next TCO meeting scheduled? Do you have one scheduled?
Yeah, it's a meeting scheduled on May 3rd, so we'll have to do without the fifth member, if you will, for that date, but hopefully we can fill that in May.
So then we have a little bit of time.
We do, a month of May, yes.
Find some good people. All right.
Let's see. Next up, we have board comments and committee reports. Any comments, Mr. Lewis?
Well, I don't want to steal any of Miss Ayers'
No, please, you were there. Please,
thunder.
absolutely.
And I was a little late, so I wasn't sure of your
You go.
ability. But the RARO dedication of the field and the rededication of the dugouts, the field for longtime coach Jerry Mace and the dugouts for the tragedy surrounding Todd Bear. That's one of those good things to be able to be a part of that the community put together. And Mr. Joey Jones worked long and hard on that. And he could use a little microphone training, but I guess we all could. But it was nice to be able to be a part of that. And despite the rain, there was a significant crowd. Bob and I were just debating on what we thought the numbers were, but it was at least 100 people, if not more. And I suspect it would have been more than that, if the weather had cooperated a little better. But it was good to be a part of. So it went well, and I'm glad for it.
Mr. Day, you have anything?
Nice.
Ms. Ayers? Mr. Lyons? And I don't have anything. Is there any committee reports? Anybody needs to bring anything forward? All right. Hearing none, we have a meeting on Monday at
6 p.m.
6 p.m. here for the budget adoption. And is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
And a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
Ms. Ayers?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
And Chair votes yes as well. Thank everyone for attending. Please be careful on your way home.
Okay, well, 2 o'clock.